Jess and Jeff have made over 5,500 sales on Etsy in the last 5 years alone, and they have racked up over 400,000 followers across all of their social media. They've done all of that under the name Two Moose Design, and they know a thing about selling things online as well as creating content surrounding it. We just go over 7 simple questions, and I think that if you're somebody who's looking to getting into selling what you make, whether that's on Etsy or your website or in person, or looking to get into content creation, I think that there is a little bit to glean from all of it. So let's jump right in.
If you and Jess had to start from scratch, completely from scratch, you don't have your current Etsy shop, you don't have your YouTube channel, and you just had $5,000, a 2-car garage, and your phone, how quickly do you feel like you could make a full-time income?
Do I have any tools?
No, you just have an empty 2-car garage, $5,000 for tools, and your phone.
That's a good question. Do I have knowledge?
That's the whole premise behind the question. You have all the knowledge that you have now. You have all this understanding on how to do sales, how to actually make stuff, what you actually need in your shop. You just don't have any of it.
So starting from scratch, I have $5,000, a 2-car garage, no tools, all my knowledge. How fast can I make money?
And a full-time income in the United States, the average household income is a little bit over $70,000. So we're talking pretty much hitting like $6K a month.
I'd say a year. Just by the time you get the tools, get everything like a process figured out. But then too, man, would I go like a CNC route and just start pumping out like signs or something simple? Or would I try to push something? Man, 2-car garage, I'd almost have to go with smaller stuff. But I'd say a year, and I'd probably go like a CNC route. Probably buy like a Onefinity and then get like a DeWalt planer and, a couple other basic tools that just process some wood. And I'd definitely go online and maybe some trade shows if I was really pushing.
When I look at like the comments, at least on my YouTube channel, that's a lot of kind of the theme that I get of like, we just have a 2-car garage and weekends and like, either trying to pay off the CNC or like what it means to actually go full time. So I was asking myself that the other day of like, realistically, if I just put a shed in the backyard and had like $5,000 to like fill it up with stuff, like how long would it take me to actually make full-time income? And like, I was going to do that for a YouTube video. And then I was like, Hamilton, what are you doing? It's going to take so long.
Like, people expect everything to happen so quickly. And it's just, most of the time, it's just not realistic. Because even $5,000, man, just buying a Onefinity, by the time you get a dust collector and like a couple things, like that $5,000 is gone. I tell people like, I would expect at least a year just to like build any sort of like collection of tools. Because to go buy a decent miter saw is $500, a decent planer, $600, dust collection, you could spend $1,000 easy. Any decent CNC is $3,000. It's just, it all adds up so quick. So like, I always say it's a marathon and not a sprint, because if you think it's going to take you a year, I bet it's going to take you 2 to 3.
Well, that's kind of goes into my second question, which is, what is the current retail value of your shop? Not including the actual like building, but
like
just
how much money I have in tools alone.
Yeah, retail value.
You're going to go on YouTube estimates, probably $3 million. But realistically, man, I actually think we did this for insurance not too long ago. I want to say 100,000. I mean, probably more by the time you add up like all like the little random stuff. But I would say just like, because like my planer's like $5,000, my dust collector's $5,000. I have 2 Infinities. My paint sprayer, I have 2 of those. Them are like $1,000 each. Like, it adds up quick. So I'd ballpark 80 to 100,000.
Yep.
Probably more if you factor in like all the sandpaper and the screws and like all the crazy little stuff that adds up quick.
When you first started, like before, YouTube and like the possibility of getting things for free, what do you think the value of the shop was back then?
Oh man. So like when we first started, before we had a shop, we started in our basement, and we had a crappy miter saw. I had like a jigsaw, like, we had like the basic construction tools. And then we went ahead and bought like some Wen tools, like, just cheap stuff off Amazon. I found a couple used things. So right away, man, I'd say all into all of our tools is probably, I'd say $5,000. But then at the end of the year, we ended up buying an X car, and that was like $2,000. But I would say like our basic setup of tools with like the basic dust collection was probably like $5,000.
I think that's also like a thing that people see like shops on the internet, and they're like, oh wow, like I have to have that in order to be successful. And no, No, not at all.
I'd say most people start out with like a DeWalt sander. And them are great. They get the job done. And then there's like the upper tier of like Mirka or Festool where you're paying $500 for a sander. And like, sure, that's a nice upgrade, but like, I don't think it's as drastic as people think it is because you're paying more for the dust collection and ergonomics. It's not like it's going to make you sand 87 times faster. Like maybe a little bit, like 30% or something, but it's not this game-changing thing. So a DeWalt sander's fine. The Ryobi's probably a little cheap and crappy. I'd at least buy Milwaukee or DeWalt, but if that's all I can afford, it'll do the job.
OG on that. All right, question number 3. So you can either instantly master a new software of your choice or have $30,000 to spend on physical tools.
So I'm really good with software. I usually pick up software pretty quick. And at this point, I kind of know. Like, I'm proficient in, like, Carveco. I need to learn Carveco. But is that worth $30,000 to me? But also at this point, what would I spend $30,000 on? Because I kind of have most of the tools I need. I'll go with the $30,000 because I'm pretty good at software. But for people that are getting into like CNC, I would say that instant knowledge of Vectric or Carveco or like Adobe Illustrator, something like some graphic design software. Because people just assume you plug and play, but you're spending months just learning how to operate some software. And then once you realize you can't just put any sort of picture you get off Google into your CNC, it's a whole nother ballgame. You know.
I would choose software because like that's where the learning curve is, right? Like you put your Winfinity together and you're like, I'm ready. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, like I paid money for the Winfinity, but I'm about to pay time and effort for the actual like learning portion of things. And now that I know Carveco so well, like I feel like that's where the actual value is in CNC machining, is like understanding the actual
100%,
software. So
anyone can go out and sell a catch-all tray or like, you know, X, Y, Z little item. It's the people that understand how to customize those items, or if someone sends them a logo, they have the ability to doctor up that logo and carve it into something. That's what's going to sell your items, not so much just like cookie cutter stuff you see on Google. It's the customization and making that customer feel special.
That gets into a question later, but we'll jump into the next one. Do you attribute your success on Etsy to your YouTube channel?
What do you mean? Reword it.
So if you didn't have your YouTube channel, would you be as successful on Etsy?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because we didn't, like, I don't think YouTube even has anything to do with my Etsy. Even if you go to, like, my Instagram, I don't really show off anything I make ever. Like, you wouldn't really know I'd sell all these Etsy products if you didn't, like, actually know, like, our story. So, like, Etsy kind of has a mind of its own versus our website, probably, because people see our stuff and go to our website. But we don't really link to Etsy as much just because, like, Etsy's good and evil in the same sense. Like, there's a lot of good about it, but there's also, like, other people's listings directly next to yours that had nothing to do with you. But right away, starting out, you should definitely, if you're able to, plug your products on every single platform possible. And that's, like, how we started out, because I started out, like, showing our products and trying to sell stuff. And then I sort of just kind of fell into the woodworking community because more woodworkers are following me than actual people trying to buy my products. And that's kind of how we started, you know, got into all that. But definitely use your social media and leverage it to try to sell your products.
Flip side of that question is, do you attribute your YouTube success to Etsy? So like, because you were so successful on Etsy, do you think that transferred into a successful YouTube career as well?
In a nutshell, for sure, because if it wasn't for like Etsy and that boom and stumbling into the woodworking community, I don't think I ever would have really, like, I've always had like an interest in like content creation, but like that whole thing coming to fruition kind of like gave me like the courage and like, oh wow, like you can really actually do something with this. And then it's just, I don't know, it's exciting.
In sort of preparation for this, I went onto your YouTube channel and watched like some of your oldest videos. That trip to St. Lucia, and then like when the shop was just built, when it was just like walls and like a few places weren't even painted yet. And it's so interesting over like the last 4 years seeing like how much you've grown, and then I immediately watched like your very latest, like your cutting board video where you're doing the inlays and everything, and like how starkly different.
Yeah. Like I went back and like unlisted a bunch of videos just because like these suck. But then like as I was like deleting them, I'm like, it shows the journey. And like I initially was gonna like film the entire shop process, but I just got in way over my head and it just never happened. So like you saw the one where it's just like, this is the shop empty, and then I lost all motivation to make videos on that after that.
In it, you said like, "Oh, and next week I'll get into," and I went and looked, and I was like, "No, there's never a next week." There's been so many videos where I'm like, "Oh, in about a month I'll get to this," and
I thought I would have the shop drywall.
It takes so much time.
I thought it was gonna be drywalled in like 2 weeks. It took like 6. Like just everything was just like way more than you think it's gonna be. Always.
Do you wish you would have made it bigger? The shop?
Yeah, I would say my shop's a good size. It's 30 by 44, which I have no complaints. But like another 10 feet would be amazing. And I also have a finishing room that's 15 by 15, which gobbles up a lot of space. That's only used like 15% of the time, but it's nice to have. So I think 30 by 40 is pretty good. But, no matter how big your space is, you're going to fill it with whatever. Whether it's wood or tools or something, you're going to fill it.
Half of my shop is just like, literally, it's just stuff stacked up, right? Like I need to get a dumpster and just throw it away because like, every time I get somebody to come out to buy a new tool off of like Facebook or whatever, like they end up just like staring and going around everything else. And I'm just
not a rummage sale.
For Etsy success, this is question number 5. You can only pick 2 of these things: a truly unique product, great product pictures, or a lot of positive customer reviews.
I'm going to collaborate with Jess on this one. 1, good reviews. 2, a truly unique product. Or 3, what was the third one? Oh, good pictures.
Great product pictures.
Good reviews. Pictures are a good product. Pictures. She chooses pictures and good reviews.
Unique as long as your pictures are better than everybody else.
Did you hear that?
Yep, it doesn't matter if your product's unique as long as the pictures are better than everybody else's. Tell Jess that I'm happy that when you go to y'all's Etsy, that the shop owner is Jess.
He said he's happy that when you go to the Etsy, the shop owner is just Jess. See, man, I almost like good pictures are important, but if you have a product like look into the 3D printer world, some of those people's pictures are awful, but it's a unique little gadget that some dude came up with and he's crushing it, and he's got one horrible photo, but good reviews. Yeah, she says it like has to really be like a one-off thing. But yeah, what she's saying is like a lot of our stuff isn't super unique because we just like sell trays and like noodle boards, but we have like good pictures and good reviews. And also once you're an established shop, you have all them sales. So like you look more trusted than just someone with 2 sales and 1 review. And usually the newer shops don't put as much time into like good pictures or anything, but good pictures are very important. And use all your pictures.
It's interesting that y'all like slightly disagreed on that, but also like I didn't think about the 3D printing take, because when I imagine Etsy, it's normally like like handmade wooden items, not 3D printing or like digital files, which is funny because it's all I sell on Etsy is digital files. But I guess different worlds, right? Because like it's hard to model things, like, and if you do get something unique, like it's going to be hard for somebody to rip you off unless they're really good at modeling things too. Which
we sell files and items on Etsy, so we kind of get like both worlds of that. I would like to try some 3D printing stuff, but I don't have a lot of time. So one day.
Number 6, y'all sold a ton of dog feeders. I've heard y'all talk about this on other people's podcasts and stuff, but I really want to talk about why specifically you took an item that was selling well and then decided to stop selling.
That's a good question too. It's such a hard thing to kind of, so right away, you're starting your business, you're making money, you're like, heck yeah, I'm taking all this work in. But then it gets to the point where like something needs to give. Like you can only take on so much. And at that time, we had a couple other products that were selling nicely, but the pet feeders were just a pain. They sold really well, but they were just kind of like prone to breaking. The customers sometimes were just a little difficult because like we'd have a 10-inch pet feeder and they're like, well, my vet says I should have a 9-inch pet feeder. So like we just ended up getting like this weird, all these weird custom requests, or like they had these special bowls, and like you just can't rely on people to measure things because it's never going to be perfect. So they get it and their bowls don't fit. So sold well, they were a headache, but that was kind of like one of the biggest things where we just had to learn to like say no, and like something has to give. And it was scary to get rid of the pet feeders because we were selling so many of them, but she just said it took over a year to like completely get rid of them. Cause like at first we started like
Wow.
hone it in, no more customs, and then it was like less sizes, and then eventually it just like there's just a pain. And then we would paint the bases. So like just getting rid of the painted bases took out one whole like step out of my operation. That saved me so much time. And then that's kind of when we started transitioning into like only flat items. Like it's got to be a cutting board, a noodle board, a serving tray, or a clock, or I'm not going to make it. Because just having all those different variations of boxes and like all the different sizes, it's just riches are in the niches, man.
That is like kind of part two of this question. What you just said about the few things that you do sell. What's your least favorite physical item to make that y'all sell?
So I love the noodle boards and cutting boards because them are like quote unquote easy and they're easy to ship. The trays aren't bad, but right now, if I were to get rid of something, it'd probably be the trays, just because I spray the trays with a finish. And if I didn't have the trays, I wouldn't have to spray any finishes. Like it would just get rid of that whole step of the process. But right now, like 1 week we'll sell a bunch of trays and then the next week we'll sell a bunch of noodle boards. So it's hard to like, until I can kind of figure out my life on like YouTube and make more money, it's hard to just cut one of them off because of like, you kind of need some variety, because unless you got a banger product, like it's going to kind of ebb and flow, especially when things kind of slow down in the summer. But man, I'd have to say the trays. The clocks are okay. I'm not a huge fan of the clocks, but they're not that hard to make. And we don't sell a ton of them, and they sell for a lot.
It's interesting that you mentioned the finishing portion of things, and earlier when you mentioned the 15 by 15 finishing room, how it, very rarely gets used, but it's nice to have. Like, I just turned my finish booth into my laser room because I used to build tables, so it's awesome, right? You build a table in there, it's clean, it's nice. And then I've moved away completely to smaller CNC type stuff, and I really only do like oil finishes. I try and stay away from like film finishes. So like, I get what you're talking about. Like if you all of a sudden just remove that one thing, like your whole finish,
I would gain a whole
turns way different than as simple as.
But again, like with the smaller stuff and the CNC stuff, it's just so much easier to just slap some like walrus oil furniture finish or like some tung oil. Just wipe it on, let it dry a little bit, wipe it off, and it's just spraying's great for like tables or trays or something that needs a little more durability. But like a lot of that simple little wood stuff, like it's just kind of overkill. And I like that, like, I mean, you're not going to spray a spoon with poly anyway, but I like that natural like wood feel of it versus like the film finish. It's just not the same.
Would you even say like to try and invest in some type of a finishing system, or just try and make products like with your first getting into woodworking, try and get products that you could use, walrus oil on or something just to wipe on finish?
I mean, it's such a hard question because like right away we sprayed, or I was using like rattle cans to spray like poly on these dog feeders, just because like you couldn't get it wet because it would like look horrible because the dog drool and stuff on the top, and they were getting so expensive. And I added up like what it would cost me to like buy a sprayer, and then like how much I'm spending on these cans, and then I bought that sprayer, and it was a game changer. Like I saved so much time and money just spending that like $1,500 on a nice setup, and just buying the finish and learning how to spray it. It was so much more efficient, so much faster. So like if you're doing tables or something, I would buy a nice sprayer. Like I would kind of skip like the cheap plastic ones that all the pieces are plastic and they're like $200, because I bought that and it lasted like 6 months maybe, just because I was actually using it. Just buy like a Fuji. You can get a nice Fuji for like $700. It is a lot of money, but if you're spending $9 a can on spray poly, it adds up quick.
And those things, like the coverage is so bad. Like if you're using actual like spray lacquer that's like meant to go down, or conversion varnish, like so nice. But once again, I'm glad that I'm not doing it. Question number 7. Do you feel like you've made it? From the outside looking in, you've got a very successful Etsy, you've got a very successful YouTube channel. You and your wife are working together, crushing it. Y'all both have y'all's respective sides of the business that y'all feel comfortable in doing and, doing well at. I would think that anybody from the outside looking in would be like, wow, they've made it, objective complete. How do you feel about that?
I would agree. Outside looking in, like, absolutely. Like we, like work for myself and make my own hours. I can go golfing right now if I want to, and just get my work done in the afternoon. Like, yeah, I got a big shop and like all the tools, but I feel like you talk to anybody like me or you or anyone that's done this for a little bit is like, no, like there's always more to accomplish. And like, you kind of got to always have that like hunger and like knack to push forward and better yourself. Because like once you start getting complacent, it's just, that's I think when you start losing stuff and like start getting sloppy. So like I feel like you always kind of need that drive. And right now my drive is like YouTube. Like I have like the business is good. Like we do fine with that. But like now like my interest is try to get good at creating content. So like, I don't know. Like I'm that kind of person that's like I'm always gonna have that like motivator or push to like constantly improve myself or make the shot better or make my videos better. I'm that person.
I just had 12 more questions pop up. It'll ask just this one head step. So you just said your focus is more on YouTube. I have found personally that it's very difficult to wrangle in where to focus when creating content, because obviously you have people that follow your stuff that really want, like your last video that came out, inlays and cutting boards. That's a super niche topic, and the people who want to know about it are going to watch every second of it, right? And then you look at your most viewed videos. They are, 5 CNC projects that sell, right? Which are a little bit more standoffish. They're not as like super in detail, but it's giving people what they want. So it's a little bit more widespread. When focusing on things that people actually want to learn, is it something that makes it worth it to make a very intensive video that might take you days or weeks to create instructional content for maybe 2,000 people to watch? Or is it better serving to make more widespread content? It's a very long question.
I feel pretty much every creator probably goes through that at some point, because right away you're kind of just throwing darts and figuring out, what works. But so like a lot of people ask me for like a video on how to do inlay cutting boards. And it's just not something I really want to do, just because I know, like you said, those 2,000 people are going to love it, but it's going to get like 5,000 views. Versus I could possibly make it into a course and make more money on it, and people would take it more seriously because they're paying for it. But also like at this point, I would rather spend that time making more videos I want to make. So it's just kind of hard to find that balance. And even now, like we did a 3D printer video that I didn't have much hope in, and like it crushed it. It did like over 100,000 views. So it's just right now we're kind of just. So right now we're working on a 5 projects video because I know that'll do well. And then we'll probably put out a laser video and then like a 3D printer video. I mean, you're kind of in that realm too, where like I'm kind of like stuck into the CNC and them kind of tools realm, because every build video I do, it just doesn't do well. Like I can spend 4 weeks building this beautiful table and it's going to get 2,000 views because like I'm not Cam from Blacktail Studio. Like I just don't have that kind of like, I'm just not that channel. You just kind of got to accept that at some point, that lean into what you're doing well at and hope for the best. But also like you need it to be broad enough to do well enough, because there's not too many people out there that are going to watch an inlay cutting board video. It's just like, I know that video is not going to totally dominate, but people enjoy it. So I make them, and I like making the boards.
And your video's really well made, like I was saying earlier. Like looking at the very first of your channel, then that video, it's like you obviously care, you put in a lot of effort, and it's a great video. It's just, that's something I've been considering a lot lately is, like, do you make the stuff for the 2,000 people and, cultivate that community and, like do really well for that? Or make videos that are more widespread that honestly, I mean, like you got to pay the bills.
Which is kind of where right? I've been slacking the last couple of months. We just got way busier when you thought, but I'm kind of like doing it in like a trend. Like I'll put out 2 videos I think will do well, and then I'll make like a cutting board video. And then hopefully one day, some format's just going to just crush, and I'll probably just focus on that.
I guess that goes to my bonus question. Have y'all seen a difference in click-through rate when you versus Jess are in the thumbnail?
Oh, yeah. It's for sure better when Jess is in the thumbnail. 100%. Even in like that 3D printer video, like she was in the thumbnail, and she was in like a third of the video, but were you sick? Something happened. Oh, we got COVID. I think that was right after Workbench Con. Like COVID set in a week later. And so she wasn't in the rest of the video, and like she was supposed to be in the video, but then like a couple people in the comments were just like, this is clickbait. She wasn't in the video enough, and like whatever.
Where is girl? Show girls.
I want girl do this.
Yeah, that's been a funny like joke between me and my wife. I'm like, you don't even have to be in the video. I'll just take a picture of you. And I was like, and people will click on it. And I was like, and hopefully they'll stick around for me. And there are channels that do that. Literally, the girl is just never showing in it at all. I looked at y'all's top 5 videos, and 4 of them were of Jess. Now that we're done with the questions, you got anything you wanna plug or talk about, or you're excited about going towards next?
I don't know, man. Right now, life is just. So we had an employee. We got rid of our employee to kind of like just go back to square one. Because with one employee, it's hard because you need I need to make an extra like $40,000-$50,000 a year just to pay that employee. Then let alone make enough money to, make it worth that extra stress. And it just, I feel like it's hard to have just one employee. I feel like you almost got to have a couple. And then with her always in the shop working and making all that extra work, it was getting hard for me to make videos and do YouTube stuff because this loud dust collector and planer were over there screaming and I'm over here trying to talk about a cutting board. So we ended up just parting ways. And then the last couple months have been us trying to find that balance on our own again. So we've been struggling just how much work can I actually take on without getting swamped. And then it's summer. So we've been trying not to totally work every single day. But yeah, just trying to find that balance on YouTube. Luckily we do pretty good on Facebook and Instagram. So there's not a super big pressure to do YouTube, but YouTube's where it's at. And there's so much more creative freedom over there. You can make videos that matter versus Facebook. I'm just throwing 3 darts a day. And if one of them hit, cool, I made a little bit of money. But I don't even care about the videos. People over there are total dickheads and just leave the worst possible comments. So I don't even look at the comments, which sucks because I enjoy interacting with the people that enjoy my content because it's an honor. Thank you that you took the time to watch my video, but you just can't because then people just start getting in your head and it's just Facebook's a crap hole, man. And generally YouTube's relatively, I don't have much issue on YouTube. People are generally pretty much positive. You get the occasional block them and move on. I'm not the kind of guy like Cam. He'll just go back and forth with those dudes and just loves it. I start getting grumpy and cranky and I can't let random people change my mood for the day over some nonsense comment.
95% of people are just so kind and great. And that one little stinker gets in the comments and you're like, ugh.
And it's intentional. Even on Instagram, I'll get a bad comment and then I'll say something sassy and then you can tag so-and-so in a comment. Yeah, because that's what they do. They turn off their tags so you can't respond to them. So they're just there they get joy out of stirring the pot. Get a hobby.
Well, hopefully you are taking a rest during the summertime because obviously the holidays are coming up, which means everybody's about to get real busy with the woodwork.
Yeah, about, I don't know, I'd say towards the tail end of September, we start ramping up pretty good. And then usually these last 2 months of summer are usually generally pretty slow.
Do you cut off the Etsy store at some point in December? Or do you just have a notice that's hey, you're not going to get it for Christmas?
Yeah. We usually have a 6-week lead time and then we'll change our banner and the notes. So when they're looking at it, it says hey, you're not going to get it by Christmas anymore, but you can still order it. It'll just come in January. And then usually people are pretty good. You get the occasional people that, expect it immediately, but I have to make it and it's Christmas time. So usually we'll just give it, if I didn't start it, I'll just give their money back if they're being extra needy.
Your positivity is contagious. Every time that not only watching your videos, but meeting you in person, it's just you're that person. You're just genuine, positive. And even when I reached out to ask you to be here, I was oh man, regardless, if I have the right questions or not, it'll be a fun conversation just because you're so just joy filled.
Yeah, I enjoy this kind of stuff. It's fun to chit chat.
A massive thank you to all of my Patreon members. Thank y'all so much for showing up and constantly supporting what I'm doing. It really means the world to me. If you're brand new to this channel and you have stuck around for this long in the video, this is where I go over how long it actually took to make this video. So all the filming, all the editing, and it's a little bit different than most of my normal ones because this is more of a podcast style one, but See, there's the number. Now I'm going to take that at the very end of the year, add up all of my videos together, and then put that against Google AdSense. So in January of 2024, I will release a video talking about my hourly rate for the channel. I honestly have no idea if it's even going to be minimum wage or not. So if you're interested in the back end of things with the finances on YouTube and content creation, go ahead and subscribe, because I'll be going over all of that in detail in January of 2024. If you're interested in more about what Jess and Jeff do, I have their links down in the description below this video if you want to go check those out. So without further ado, I will see y'all later. Bye.